Whenever a book gets converted into a movie or a show, I immediately feel compelled to read it. Like it's an instant the book versus the movie kind of thing, but nobody was there to warn me. And now my algorithm is upside down and it's entirely your fault. Okay, I'm blaming you for this. Hi, I'm Platano and welcome to my channel. I really hope you like it here. Welcome into the chaos. I am an artist who has many hobbies, including but is not limited to VTuber art. I actually designed and rigged this model that I'm using. Still a beginner, so take that for what you will. And I'm an amateur animator, book talker, and certified professional yapper. Yeah, pretty much everybody who knows me well enough will tell you that I can go on and on and on. So be in for a long video. I am so scared to see how long this records for. Because telling you this right now, writing my review, I had like 6 pages worth of things to say. So here we go. We're just going to go ahead and cut into it. But first, I need to tell you how I got here in the first place. So, for the first time in my life, I am struggling putting into words this experience because it was so different than anything I was ever used to before. I want you to go ahead and take a seat, take a snack, and dream with me here for a second, okay? I want you to picture it's Mother's Day, all right? It's Mother's Day, and I am in my favorite bookstore. All right. For HR purposes, let's just picture a very Target-esque bookstore with a green logo and a mermaid coffee shop inside. Okay. And there I was on a mission to read outside of my genre. I consider myself to be a little bit of like a spooky girl. I love a good haunt. I love a good true crime. And I love anything that is mystery or thriller. But all of my friends read romance. Not knocking on romance, it's just really not my thing. And it's really hard to get into it. I really need something to move the plot along. And so there I am in the wild looking through my options. And I see this book cover that is probably so recognizable that I could probably insert the color of the cover right here. And then you would look at it, and any avid book talker, romantic, girly pop reader would look at it and be like, I know exactly what that is. So if you guessed it, go ahead and put your answer into the comments and we'll see if your answer is exactly what I got when I was going through the bookstore and I had that particular red little rectangle in my hands. And if your answer was, that's hard to get into, yeah, absolutely that. So anyway, I had so many people coming up to me with a willingness to help. And man, book talkers are so incredibly nice and passionate. I vibe with it so hard. Like you guys are so welcoming. And I was really scared because I was literally walking around. I had no idea what I was looking at. So it came down to two options after a lot of advice and a lot of reading blurbs and reading the first 5 pages of a lot of these books. I have a rule. This is just my rule. I have to read the first 5 pages of the first chapter, and if I don't like it, you don't pass the cut. I'm sorry, that's just how it goes. So I brought it down to two dark romances, which is not a genre that I have read before. And so I was like really excited, but also like really nervous. And so I put it to a vote because I am so indecisive when it comes to books. My TBR list is ridiculously long. And so my two were Lights Out by Navessa Allen and Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton and Lights Out 1 by a landslide. I was not ready, so let's get into it. Please enjoy the... Oh, my eyes are doing something weird. I'm freshly rigged and don't know what I'm doing. Did I mention that I did this rig myself? So, the art you see behind me, I actually did, and I have a time lapse that we're gonna go ahead and let play in the background while I talk to you so that we have something interesting to look at. And I really hope that my recording doesn't run out before the end of this video. So if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry, I am going to keep this part of the video spoiler free as we get into the plot and who our characters are. So there will be a spoiler alert later on as we get into it. The story first introduces us to Alyssa, who is an Italian trauma nurse, and immediately I'm linking this to the cover and I'm going, a trauma nurse and a serial killer? Tell me more. Oh honey, if I only knew. Also, her being Italian is actually relevant to the plot. We'll get to that later. Anyway, Alyssa, who we will be calling Allie for the rest of the video because that is what she goes by, is crippled with loneliness and a chronic workaholic with a cat named Fred. Fred is by far my favorite character. Then we are introduced to her hookup, Tyler. And let me tell you, when putting together my notes, I don't know why, he was literally so forgettable. I had him in my mind that his name was Alex. I don't know why he registered in my mind as an Alex. I feel really bad saying that now. But yeah, but that is okay. All right, because that's not the man of the hour. The man of the hour, the whole papi chulo that we were looking for, that's Josh. Josh, the Clark Kent to our... Oh, wait. No, that doesn't work here. The Bruce Wayne to our... Oh, I see. I get it now. Look what you made me do, you clever girl. Anyway. And Nico, Allie's estranged uncle from her mother's side, his sons Junior and Greg, and Bradley. We don't like Bradley. So here's what I thought. Before we get into the real like nitty gritty, I just want to throw my 2 cents out there and express what I felt about the book. And I will do so as spoiler free as possible. Starting with the couple that slays together, that's like right on the cover of the book. When you haven't done any actual research for fear of spoilers, this really threw your girl off. And I'm really grateful that I didn't look into this book before reading it. And it was a cold read for me because there's a really big fan base for this book. Like, you guys would have immediately spoiled it for me. I'm sorry. I know you guys are so sweet, but you would have absolutely spoiled this book for me. And I was not trying to set myself up for failure. But like, not in a bad way. This just wasn't at all what I was expecting. There is, a serial killer. Somebody does die. There is a lot of spicy romance, and the couple does, in fact, stay together. It just was not at all what I was expecting. Not in a bad way, but I felt like I was waiting for like half the book for something to happen. And then when it did, I was like, oh, I get it now. But I was kind of lost for a little bit of it. It was definitely entertaining, don't get me wrong. I felt like I was watching a movie. Every scene was set up to transition perfectly, and every time there was a cut, it picked up right where it needed to without missing a beat. And I really liked that. I can appreciate that. Also, Josh was absolutely hilarious. I love a funny character who is handsome and strong and just the right amount of jealous. He can take charge when he needs to. If it weren't for his undying loyalty to Allie, I might have guessed this man was Puerto Rican. For HR purposes, that was a joke. And if you didn't like it, a mí me importa. I definitely caught myself cheesing through a lot of the banter between Allie and Josh. Okay, spoilers. This is your spoiler alert warning now. And if you choose to stay from here, thank you. It means a lot. And I mean this with all the love and all of its entirety. This is completely your fault. So I don't want any complaints from here on out. Anyway, I mentioned Allie was a trauma nurse, and that is not for the weak. All right, standard nursing is challenging, but trauma, that's just layers to it. And between long shifts and emotionally, mentally scarring and draining experiences, Allie finds herself very lonely. One night, after a particularly rough night and a rough shift featuring buckshot and a very unfortunate man who somehow made it to the ER, realizes that She has had no intentional human interaction in almost 2 months. Wow. She has her cat Fred, and he's such a cute little white and black house cat who has his own personality and his own share of laughs in the book. But he's a cat. I don't care what you cat people say, it does not count. She doom scrolls her phone a little bit while a little tipsy and sends a pretty risky text to Tyler, her latest hookup, and she takes a shot in the dark. Here's the thing about Allie. She's bored, and she has a thing for this mask talk creator. So she sends one of his videos to Tyler, who responds more or less with, lol, no. And she shrugs it off, convinced that it's vanilla relationships for her for the rest of her days. Cut to Tyler, who walks up to his roommate Josh and basically says the equivalent of, bro, can you believe this chick? And Josh can't even concentrate because he forgot to wear his brown pants. There he is on his best friend and roommate's screen is a video of himself. He is the mask talker. He is the faceless man. The man of Allie's sick little dreams. Again, we see you, girl. This triggers something in our boy Josh. Like, he goes absolutely unhinged stalking montage, which he rationalizes by telling us that she started it. And I think it's really interesting, the dual first person, how often the reader is addressed directly, especially by Allie. It feels completely normal. Like, we not only know what she's thinking, but like she's telling us directly, and in some parts, like, so is he. So that's, that's its own thing. And some of her comments were comedy gold. I cackled out loud reading most of these. I was like, here, I just gotta pull up some of the ones that I really liked. I have it here. I am on season 6 of this video. Is this why I randomly woke up to this video at 2 a.m.? Was I summoned here? I would like to thank the algorithm for bringing me here. And this felt surprisingly close to the whole what a weird way to propose, but yes kind of scenario, where Josh basically decides to test his luck and her eagerness by actually breaking into her house and recording a thirst trap in her own room, which she then sees and is like, hey, I have those same sheets. What? That's crazy. Girl. So after he sets up his whole security system, has an encounter with Fred that is incredibly hilarious, and a private camera, all of which he has access to from his home setup, things get real. And so much happens that I do not have the time or the YouTube security to go over from here. This is not that kind of place for that. I'm not trying to get demonetized. Just know that the faceless man is on Allie's radar. She's pretty sure he is Josh's alter ego, and she accidentally stabs him. He befriends and I think adopts her cat, and absolutely, without a doubt, starts a very close relationship with Allie. Now, I'm going to assume that if you stayed past the spoiler alert, you know exactly how close Josh and Allie become up to this point when an SA victim and her assaulter are brought into Allie's ER. And this is important because they release the assaulter and he comes back. We have the displeasure of officially meeting the jerkface with too much of daddy's money, Brad. We don't like Brad. Brad was tracked down by the brother of his latest victim and had the absolute dog shit kicked out of him. Like, respectfully, he deserved it, and disrespectfully, the police arrested the brother. Brad ends up in the ER, abandoned by every nurse there, waiting to be bandaged up because none of the female nurses on staff want to touch him. Respectfully. Except for Allie, who says, not on my watch, let's get this mofo out of my ER. And throughout this, keep in mind, none of her coworkers know about the masked man who has hacked into the CCTV of the hospital and who calls the floor immediately requesting to speak to Allie when she decides that she's going to go into this room. And he says, absolutely freaking not. Allie has a renowned and new sense of bravery considering that she's in an entanglement with her intruder. So she's kind of a badass who says, take a message, and then goes to the room anyway. Here we get a super uncomfortable interaction where Brad tries and fails to intimidate Allie and ultimately grabs her by the arm. And when he can't, she confronts him directly. She challenges him and makes the claim that she wants to see how he does with a woman who's fully conscious. And just like the little bitch that he is, he fakes that she threatened him, screams out in a loud, bloody murder, help, help, help. And this causes security to escort Allie out of the room, and then she has to go to HR. Obviously, no one's buying this story. So she gets home and has a little rendezvous with our masked papi, and then shit gets real. All right. This is the moment that I had been waiting for the entire book. And let me tell you, I had no idea it was going to happen like this. I thought what I was signing up for was like a sexy ghost face, Billy killer thing with like a thing for nurses, which if you already know Josh, you know that is absolutely not the case. Josh is the son of a Bundy-esque serial killer who he holds a striking resemblance to, so he is battling this internal conflict throughout the entire book of his natural desire, if you catch my drift. He won't even allow himself a pet because he is so incredibly scared of causing it harm. He literally could never intentionally cause any harm to even a fly. And he spends like 70% of the book getting hurt himself. So naturally, I was super surprised and questioning my own personal morals while awaiting this very moment and being a little bit disappointed. Anyway, Josh's security alarms were blaring and they wake up both him and Allie. And after a comically dumb moment where he realizes his mask slid over sideways and was temporarily blinding him, he panics, thinking he's gone blind, and then the two gear up to scope it out. He tells Allie to stay put where she is, and he takes Allie's mystery mouse tool to see where the threat is, realizing that this is an actual break-in and his cameras have been messed with. Allie, who doesn't listen, let's be so for real, she does not listen, goes and follows him, and then they both encounter Brad. Brad with a cheap knockoff of Josh's mask. Josh knocks him clean out and they tie him up and go through his stuff to confirm he has all the tools in there that basically look like a serial killer starter kit. And they start planning what to do with him next. They gag him, but when he comes to, he just won't settle and he's obviously not going down quietly. So Josh covers his mouth with a piece of duct tape and they chuck him into the trunk of Allie's car. And then they take off. Now, mind you, Josh is still wearing his mask at this point, but he doesn't have a voice modulator. So there's a lot going on here that ups the tension, and at some point, he completely forgets to do the thing, which makes him sound like Batman, and they talk about what to do next. The plan was to drop Bradley off as a little gift for the victim's family. Notice I said the plan was. Because Josh accidentally deleted him. Get it? Deleted. He's a hacker. No? Just me? Alright. Anyway, Josh rips off his mask and pukes pretty much instantly at the thought of having accidentally taken out the trash because he didn't realize he covered Brad's nose and mouth. So he's having a whole moment in realizing that he accidentally did something he swore that he would never do, battling this internal trauma the entire time. And then Allie decides to take this moment to make a light joke about now knowing his identity. And they sort of officialize their relationship and then take the couple that slays together quote. And then now you're sitting there like, oh, It makes sense now. I get it. So, if I haven't already ruffled some feathers up to this point, and I know I'm speaking kind of fast, um, what the heck was the second part of this book? Like, remember when I said there was an emphasis on Allie being Italian in the beginning? Well, it turns out that's relevant because her uncle is literally in the mob. I don't know if this is like a Godfather situation or like a Soprano situation. All I know is that her uncle Nico comes into the story to help her clean up their mess. And he's literally in the mob. Allie is part of a mafia family. I still don't understand this. I don't understand like the real connection. They don't really dive into it too much except to say that like he's a bad guy who makes bad people go away and this, that, and the other. And there's a lot of threatening that goes on. I don't really know what this does. All I know is that he comes in, they clean Allie's car, they break down Brad's car to make sure that nothing gets found, and they break down Brad's other things. There's a huge anxiety inducing scene where Josh and a bunch of like paid military type group have to break into Brad's house and wipe his computer of any trace of Allie so that the police can't tie her to him in any way after the hospital. It's really uncomfortable and really out of nowhere. I really almost felt like I was reading another book that kind of been like tagged in to the back of this book. I also really don't like the entire mafia cliche. Like, if it isn't done properly, and this is just my preference and me being picky, but if it isn't done properly, I just don't like it. So there's that. All in all, they get the job done, and Allie and Josh are off the hook, and they run into the sunset, enjoying a peaceful vacation in a cabin in the woods. Yeah. So this was a wild ride from start to finish. And I would give it a personal 8 out of 10 for me, only losing points because I did not realize what I was signing up for. I didn't know that this was going to be like a mob mafia type story, and I felt like it was a little bit rushed almost in the end. Like, we waited so long to see this whole murder play out, and then her uncle just takes care of it for her. They don't really hide the body, they just kind of, put it off to someone else. And this is kind of where their story ends because even though there's 2 more books in the series, as far as I understand, the series is an anthology, so we don't really see them again. I don't know. I haven't read the other 2 books. I'm not sure if I will. I'm still debating. Like I said, my algorithm is upside down. But I had a really good time reading this recommendation, and I cannot wait to see what you guys recommend for me next. Besitos!